I am Deb Coviello, founder of the Drop-In CEO brand, and I am so grateful you have joined us on another episode of the podcast where week after week I get to speak to really amazing people and they share their insights and inspiration with you. And if you do like this episode, I sincerely hope you do. Please rate, review, share with others so we can continue to bring you more amazing guests. And just know I care about you deeply out there. For the C-suite leaders of today and tomorrow, I'm here to support you to get control of your careers while you're navigating your business opportunities. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce today Jason Cohen. Before starting Gastrograph AI, Jason was the founder and executive director of the T Institute at Penn State, which oversees 20 plus researchers in 5 fields of study in traditional Chinese, Japanese, and Korean tea. Jason did his research in sensory science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, eventually developing Gastrograph AI after 3.5 years of research. Jason is a professional coffee, tea, and beer taster. And when he is not trying new products, oh my, he enjoys rock climbing, ice climbing, and fencing. Oh my, can't wait to hear more about that. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I am so excited to bring this interview forward. You know, I come from the flavors and fragrance industry for the past 20 years, and I have a sincere appreciation for flavorists and perfumists because there is an art form to create a human experience through the sensory sciences. But Jason comes to us with something a little different, a little disruptive. And you know me, I love things that disrupt and go against the status quo, for which he has an amazing story and an amazing product and service that supports others. So you have the floor. Please share with us a little bit about yourself more personally, your journey, and the amazing work you're doing now.
Well, thanks, Deb. So a little bit about me. I started as a professional tea taster. That is a real job. Spent a whole bunch of time in mainland China, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan, and then went to Penn State University, where I started a tea research group. And like everything I touched, that spiraled out of control and became an interdisciplinary tea research institute called the Tea Institute of Penn State. And so I started doing research on how do I quantify what people are tasting? How do I know what people like and dislike? And I started in the field of sensory science, which is a science that studies that, but I was unhappy with the math. I was unhappy with the tools and the techniques that they were using. And so I said, well, there's all these new techniques of machine learning, artificial intelligence. So this should be predictive. There should be a way that we could actually take data and then use that data to make predictions about the future that come true. And so I moved me and all my research over to machine learning and artificial intelligence. And we started to work ground up to build models to actually predict what people were going to taste and like and dislike. And we did that for just about 4 years. And when everything started to work, we could actually make predictions around what people were going to taste. We realized it didn't belong in academia anymore. We spun it out of the university. I hired off the 3 top researchers from the Research Institute, and we all started analytical flavor systems together. And so that research started way back in 2009. Feels like I've been doing this for a long time. It became a company in June 2013. And at that point, we had no idea what we were doing. We were all a bunch of academics. We were all quite young. And so it literally took 2 years to go from research to a usable enterprise product. And 2 years of bootstrapping. So that was an experience that I am happy to have had, but would not willingly repeat.
So, Jason, I can go in so many different directions, but let's just go back a little bit as you are enjoying your tea right now. How did you get into tea tasting, beer tasting, coffee tasting? Where did that all come from?
So it was a tradition on my father's side of the family to be sent abroad in high school to go. He lived in Spain under Franco and then in Mexico. And so they said to me, where do I want to go? I said, China. They said I was very young. I started college, university very early. So I said China. They said no, somewhere a little easier. So I went to Italy, Institute di Europeo, and studied in international business and Renaissance art history. And then I came back and they said, where do you want to go? And I said China, and they said fine. So in 2007, I went to Yunnan Dashua, Yunnan Normal University, originally to study politics. Turns out blonde hair, blue eyes, bad Chinese didn't really endear me to asking about the government. So I wound up spending a whole bunch of time in the tea market, and I was just being quizzed with these older gentlemen who I was sitting with, like, what does this tea taste like? Where do you think this tea is from? And it turned out that they were all ex-CNNP, the communist era tea conglomerate that owned all of the tea production in China, particularly the pu'er production from the Cultural Revolution onward. And so I wound up getting a crash course in it, and I got very, very interested in it. So then the following year, I went to live on Makabari tea plantation in India to pick and harvest my own tea. And then I went back to China to do some additional research and work. So it was all a series of happy accidents. And I went to Penn State University, originally assuming that I was going to be in political science. I went on a political science fellowship to do research in political science, which I never wound up doing. I wound up doing all of my work in tea and flavor.
Amazing. Tell me more. What do you mean happy accident? Were these things planned, or life just took its turns and twists and you went with it? What do you mean by
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it was all small decisions that made sense at the time, but they weren't. It was not. There was no in the early days. There was no strategic. I'm going to do this, which is going to lead to that, which is going to end here. And really, there couldn't have been. When we talk about tea, coffee, and beer, so originally all of our data was tea because we were running a tea research institute, and we had people who were interested in tea, and we would have them taste tea, and we'd collect their data. But getting American university students fully trained and up and running on tea tasting and getting them to show up for tea tastings was relatively difficult. So we started collecting coffee data. People were more familiar with coffee. It was easier to get a range of different coffee products. We could test that against market results. There was easier to verify ground truths and other data and other work we could rely on. There was more publications about coffee. So we started having them taste coffee, and now the data was higher quality, but people still didn't always show up for coffee tastings. And so then we started hosting beer tastings, and at Penn State, if you host free beer tastings, you don't have a data problem. People show up for those. And so these were just all steps that made sense in the moment. And from where the company starts, what the company does now. So we have an AI platform that models human sensory perception of flavor, aroma, and texture to predict consumer preference of food and beverage products. And we help large multinational food and beverage companies develop new products, optimize existing brands, and enter new markets, all from the perspective of making better tasting, more targeted products for specific consumers around the world. We always say more diverse products for a more diverse world, right? It used to be that you could create a singular product and sell it regionally, nationally, or even internationally. But that's no longer true. People expect products that appeal to them. The ability to produce products, to get it onto the shelf, to distribute it, the rate of acquisition of new preferences is so much different now than it was even in the 90s or early 2000s, with the rise of direct-to-consumer brands and targeted marketing and specific marketing channels and the interest in health and wellness related channels. It has allowed for new preference acquisition to really bifurcate around people's independent preferences. And so now you see brands where it used to be maybe a singular flavor was normal, right? And now brands have to launch with 3 or 4 or 5 different flavors, each one targeted at a different consumer cohort or a different demographic niche. And so, what I think is most amazing about this journey and linking it back to my work in tea and how that evolved is that, our technology has certainly evolved, it's improved, it's grown, but the core technology, the ability to measure flavor and then to predict how different consumers are going to perceive it, and from that to predict their preferences, has never changed. So I maintain that we've never pivoted. This has been, a series of happy accidents and small decisions that made sense at the time, but the one underlying unifying straight arrow has been how do we use this technology to create things that people are going to enjoy more, products that people actually will like, products that people actually want to buy, products that are actually targeted at them.
What I love about what you said early on from a leadership perspective is that sometimes you just don't know what you want to be when you grow up. But if you stay true to your passions, what you're good at, and your values, making small decisions along the way sometimes do lead you down whatever path you're meant to go. And what I really love also is that you're in the business of assuring that you remain diverse to all people's needs, wants, desires, and that change is a constant for which data, the power of data, and the ability to mine that data quickly can help you make better decisions in a constantly changing environment, demographics, new markets, new technology, new flavors entering the market. Your technology can enable us to make those decisions a lot faster. Now, I have to ask you this burning question. There are amazing people out there that already do this work. You've got the flavorists, the perfumists, all those people that have been trained for many years to do this work. But this is somewhat disruptive or complementary to that work. What do you say?
I think it is both. I
Okay.
think that the major CPG companies, the major food and beverage companies and brands have at this point, to a large extent, outsourced their development work, their formulation work to the flavor houses. Flavor houses have some of the most skilled developers in the world. All the flavor houses claim to be the best at using their flavors, but um, there are challenges. The challenge is that all of the flavor houses claim that they know what consumers like because they are producing the flavors and they can see what's selling and what's not selling and how much of the flavors that they're
That's a
removing.
lagging indicator. That's a lagging
It's
indicator.
it's a lagging indicator, and it's never been true because product failure rates for new product development are still upwards of 80 something percent. So, of course they
Mhm.
can see what's selling. That doesn't mean that it's going to sustain that levels of sales. It doesn't mean it's going to sustain that level of success for any amount of time. There's a 15% year-on-year product failure rate for products that have been on the market for more than 3 years. So, and we've seen massive declines in legacy products. So, on the way that the flavor houses operate, right? They are commodity companies that trade flavors with each other, right? Two major flavor houses don't have synthesize, can synthesize some of the most amazing flavors. They can synthesize flavors that don't exist in nature. They can synthesize flavors that are too rare or expensive to harvest manually, right? They are some of the best chemical engineers in the world. What they are not is they are generally not data scientists. They are not machine learning experts, and they're not building predictive models to actually look at the perceptions and to build feature-based learning on those perceptions. So when we think of a flavorist, right, someone still has to know how to achieve that target flavor. What
Right.
our AI is doing is it's pointing at the target. And you could think of this as I hate to go there, but to quote Steve Jobs, right? The computer is the bicycle of the mind. As computers have gotten more advanced and as AI is becoming more and more advanced, right? There's going to be certain jobs that can be done by humans and should be done by humans. Flavorists, the ability to formulate, the ability to develop, the ability to pick specific keys and to get a product into formulation is very important. There's things that the AI doesn't know or doesn't care about, right? The AI is not trained on things like, say, stability or shelf life.
Mhm.
On the other hand, right, if you are most of the flavor houses here in the U.S. are based on a corridor in New Jersey, right? If you're a flavorist and you're from New Jersey, you grew up in New Jersey, and you're developing products for the rest of the entire United States, let alone right the rest of North America with Canada and Mexico, or the rest, or doing products that are going to go to a totally different demographic, you can't perceive past your experiences and your genetics, right?
Mm.
If you have a flavorist, say, and a highly trained, wonderful flavorist, say African American, who's then tasked with developing a product for another demographic in the United States, say Asian American,
Mhm.
right? Their experiences don't translate, and so the use of AI gives them real-time feedback. It gives them access to the information that they would normally have to go back to a consumer panel for. It gives
Yes.
them, so basically they get real-time consumer guided feedback, so that they can actually develop something that the target consumer is going to love, not just that their experience tells them is good or bad, because their experience is not what determines the success of that product.
So I know a lot of flavor houses, both large and medium size. But I want to know, first of all, whoever eventually listens to this podcast, we want to only connect you with those that are early adopters that understand the value of this technology. But I want to hear from you. Can you give us a profile of those entities that have said, yes, this makes sense to complement with what we're doing?
Yeah. Well, I'll give maybe two and a half or three examples.
Mhm.
So the first is that we predominantly work with the brand owners. We mostly work with the food and beverage companies themselves. And frequently those CPG companies will say, can you go work with our development partner X to develop this product that you predicted will succeed?
Mm.
And we are happy to work with any development partner. Some of them play nicely with us. Some of them think of us as bad cop, right?
Mm.
Which I think is very misguided because we're there. You know, we have the same aim: make the product successful. We'll help figure out what it should taste like. We'll help figure out the overall profile and within any constraints. And then the flavor house, if that product is successful, if we can help them make it more successful, they'll win more briefs. They'll sell more flavors, which will go on into a longer lifespan product. I really think that, and some flavor houses now understand that. We've worked together multiple times. So some are much more friendly to us than others. Others still see us as bad cop. Um, on the other side, one of the differences I can really draw is the difference in experience and expectations around artificial intelligence
Mm.
between, say, the United States and Asia,
Mhm.
particularly China. In the United States, the questions that we get around our AI is, how do we know it works? Do you have any validation? Do you have proof? How can we trust it? How can we understand why the AI is making decisions? And we have good answers to all of those questions, right? We've undergone double-blind validation studies. We've done massive amounts of work on characterizing the AI and where it learns and how it learns. But those are all very much AI skeptic driven questions, right? Questions around, why can I trust the technology? How do I know I can
Yes.
trust the technology?
Mhm.
In China, the questions are, how big is your how big are your servers, right? If we scale up from starting with 10 products, can you handle 600 new products per year? uh, you know um, are you going to be able to give us 24-hour support? Are you going to be able to have any support and resources in China? Are you going to be able to handle additional developments across different categories that we're focused in? And it's all very expansion questions. It's very
You
operational
want
questions. How quickly?
opportunistic versus being risk averse.
Exactly. And I think it's driven twofold, right? I think one is that the experience of AI is much more day to day. It's much more at the consumer level in China. To walk into buildings, your face gets scanned,
Mm.
and the gate goes red or green. When you're applying for things through, Tencent or Alipay, it's all AI and algorithmic, right? The population is large enough that very few people expect personalized things. They expect to be bucketed through AI. And so the experience of using AI is much more, in the United States, sometimes we talk about the consumerization of enterprise technology. That enterprise technology now needs to be more friendly. It needs to feel more like the apps that people use in their free time at home, right? And consumer apps have gone, enterprise apps have gone from kind of kludgy and slow and people being understanding of odd workflows to now they expect very streamlined things. You could look at Slack, right? And Slack
Mhm.
is, it looks like a consumer app, but it's used by major enterprises now owned by Microsoft. Um, in China, right, AI feels like that. It feels real, it feels tangible, and it feels like it's already taking over the world. So when we think about, what our early adopters look like, we do quite a bit of our work in Asia. But there's certainly a difference between companies that remain AI skeptic and companies that remain, highly open to the adaptation and the use of new technology.
So amazing. And it's so interesting. I'm learning so much about the differences in cultural acceptance about new technology and the opportunity or threat that some see. But let's just turn a little bit to you before we go more into the technology that you offer, because again, I found it so cool. You are the CEO of the company. You somehow were very persistent in the first 2 years, bringing it from academia to something that was viable, to now struggles. You've had successes, you've had struggles, you're trying to get more exposure, et cetera. As a business owner, I want to understand what keeps you up at night, either something positive, you're so jazzed, or what are the things that bother you as a business owner, as a viable company to achieve the goals that you want?
Certainly. In the early days, learning how to raise capital and how to effectively manage capital was very new. Right, I started off as a technologist. I built all of the original algorithms. I would like to still think of myself as a pretty good generalist. Uh, but I had no financial background. I had no business background. I had no prior experience in being getting, achieving venture funding or being in a venture backed company. In
Mhm.
fact, this is literally the only job I've ever had. So I did the tea tasting, right, but that was still with a fairly academic bent.
Mhm.
um, so this was the only real, corporate level job that I've ever had. And so going from, running a research institute, which was a professional job, but it was a very it has all of the it has all of the downsides of running a company with none of the benefits.
Mm.
I came in fairly experienced at managing people and building teams, and at strategic large scale goal setting. And we weren't afraid of having a longer time horizon
Mm.
than other companies or other people, right? Most companies never go through 2 years of bootstrapping just to get the technology from research into a product. That's very unusual. um but certainly the thing that's kept me up the most throughout the lifespan of this company, from the early days till now, is going from my be in my personal comfort zone
Mhm.
of technology, of industry, of applications, of really of the science of it and the use of it and the value of it, to the financial side. And thankfully, we've been able to hire. We've had great investors who are incredibly supportive, who focus specifically on B2B enterprise, deep technology companies, and so are used to people like me. But also, from we were also able to hire expertise, very experienced business expertise, in order to help us manage those types of finances. That's not to say it's all been smooth, right? There's been multiple market upturns and downturns since we started. The rug can get pulled out from under
Right.
you at any time. But yeah, I would say certainly, to any founders that come from a technology perspective and see a business opportunity and want to seize it, having good partners both inside the company, and having be very, very careful of the investors that you choose, because our investors have stood behind us the entire time. They maintain their investments, they reinvest in every round, and that makes a huge difference for the health and the benefit of the company, and also the sanity of the leadership.
I mean, what is so profound, and I talk about this so often about leaders, I see amazingly talented leaders. They have their core business. They've been able to be sustainable for some amount of time. And then there are changes in the business for which they look around the room and they realize they don't necessarily have the expertise for the change that's coming, whether it's financial, business development opportunities, but sometimes they wait too long to pull the trigger for either fear or cost, et cetera. And those are the leaders that unfortunately make their business go into some kind of chaos or crisis, for which then when they do bring in that expertise, it takes a little bit longer and can be more costly. So kudos to you for having the vision to lead the company, but also the wisdom of bringing the right people in. But I want to just move one more time back over to the technology, because you've been in existence since 2013. You've got a client base, but you also have some new technology to enhance what you're already doing. So tell us more about that.
We have two, I think, really exciting avenues of expanding the technology and expanding its applications. Right now, when companies come to us and they say, we want to develop a new food and beverage product, we want to develop a new low fat, high protein, probiotic, yogurt based, non dairy beverage for, say, Hispanic Americans in the Southwestern United States, right?
Oh my.
Super specific. Then the question is, right, that what we can do is we can target on age, sex, race, socioeconomic status, past tasting experiences, and smoking habits. We can do any type of demographic factor which is going to influence the genetics and the perceptual experiences of that target population, right? We've run our own large scale research. We have a proprietary database, 30 plus countries around the world, 45 plus regions. And so we actually have real consumer data from different population centers across the United States: California, Texas, Chicago, Atlanta, New York. And that database is what allows us to make those highly regional or highly specific predictions, because you know from experience, the food that you eat in New York is quite different than the food you
Oh
eat in
yes.
California.
Oh
And
yes.
I'd say that the food in New York tastes much better, right? We're not afraid of oils, fats, and
No,
salts.
it's different, but it's it's a different experience. So I'm from Jersey and New York. Oh my. But again, I appreciate the Midwest and the German food, the West Coast Scots, it's new, but it's different. It
Yeah,
is.
but you couldn't sell a sugar donut on the West Coast, right? The types of products that succeed,
Mhm.
the types of flavors that are widely accepted are
Yes.
actually quite different. And so, when a company, so going back to that example, when a company comes to us with a product like that, right now what we can do is we can target on those demographic factors.
Mhm.
Only recently have we begun collecting enough behavioral data, right? This person is uh, a non-dairy consumer. This person is a diet soda consumer versus a full sugar consumer. This person eats potato chips. This person does not eat potato chips. And so with this new data set, being able to do not just demographic splits, but actually do behavioral cohorting is a brand new area for us. And that's really exciting, because that bringing that psychographic into the AI allows for even more precise tuning of product profiles, product offerings, and new developments. That's the first one. The
Mhm.
second one is texture. And anyone who works in this can tell you that texture is so much harder than flavor. Um, if you have a potato chip, trying to change the texture of the potato chip is much harder than adding seasoning and turning it into a dill potato chip or into a salt and vinegar potato chip. So we've totally revamped our texture analysis, and we can now do much more robust optimizations and more robust constrained optimizations on texture. So if we were looking at variations in, say, types of oil or fry time on a chip, the AI would actually be able to tune that in a way that's never before been possible.
Oh, this is amazing. I love technology. And obviously, as a consumer, that experience and the work that's done behind it is so, so valuable. So, if I were to look ahead 2 to 3 years, where are you going to be? What's the plan for your company?
Well, we'll continue to approximately double every
Okay.
year
Hmm.
over year. So right now we're at about 22 people. I hope we don't double headcount as we continue to double revenue, but in 2 to 3 years, I think we could easily be at 40 to 50 people. And really, it's the investment is on the technology. It's on expanding the reach of the data. It's on collecting more data. It's on the ability to deliver these types of predictions faster. And I think the most exciting thing is right now, companies come to us when they want a new development. They come to us when they have a problem that needs to be solved. But part of what we want to do is we want them to put the power of the tool of the AI into their hands so that they can actually use it in an exploratory method. They could start asking what if questions. What if we fried this longer? What if we changed our oil? What
Build
if
some
we added
trust.
dill?
It's like a
And so
relationship that they're trying to build with the technology. They're courting it.
ex- exactly. And I think that that's really an interesting area, because one of the most interesting and surprising things that I've seen is it's not always the ideas that have the most funding and the most interest and the most support by major multinational food and beverage companies. It's frequently, one product developer or one product marketer or one brand manager in one of the regional offices who says, I think that there would be a great idea if we were to put calamansi, which is a type of citrus fruit, and cayenne pepper on this product, right? And they might not have the resources to get budget against it, but with AI, right, there's no marginal cost to testing that idea. And then everyone's speaking the same language. everyone trusts the same information. And when that product formulator comes up with that new great, that new $100 million a year potential product, right? They can then share it out with the rest of the company, and everyone can say, we wouldn't have come up with this, but through the partnership of human intelligence and human intuition and the use of the AI, we were able to find things that otherwise would remain unfound, or that maybe one of our competitors would have found.
Which was going to be my next question without disclosing. And again, competition is good. We learn from each other. Sometimes in the collaboration, we create something really good. But like, how do you compare to the competition
Yeah, we
in
would
terms of
say
capability?
there's a lot. The AI for food and beverage has recently, long after we started, become a more heavily invested in area.
Okay.
But the majority of it is on social listening. So using information of chatter, things on social networks,
Mm,
sales analytics, or trend forecasting.
yes.
Some of it
Okay.
is on things like menu trends. So when restaurants change their menus, that is a legitimate source of new preference acquisition.
Yeah.
But it's very noisy data. And so we don't see any direct competition operating the way that we operate. We don't see any direct competition on the technology side on thinking through, can we collect massive amounts of data on human-centric perception and then use it to build feature-based learning onto preferences.
Okay.
And so, no one else has the product optimization abilities that we have. No one else has the proprietary data set that we have, of course. But that means that they don't know the differences between what's driving preferences in different markets. And so we certainly do see competition. We see competition on the conceptual side. Is it a good idea to make a low protein, high fat yogurt, or is it a low fat, low protein yogurt, right? Those are concept level questions that maybe some level of trend analysis and competitive benchmarking can help. But I think that in opening up a new area of AI for product development, I think we've been at the forefront for a long time. And I'm hoping our continued investments in technology will keep us at the forefront.
So, Jason, I am so grateful for this conversation. I know you've been out and about trying to share this amazing technology at different conferences and interviews and media. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to also share your story and your amazing product with my audience as well. But before we bring this to a close, any last thoughts to anybody out there, either on your journey or people that you really want to connect with?
Well, we will be at Eurosense this year in Turku, Finland, and we will also be at Drink Japan in Tokyo. So those are the two next major conferences that we're going to. But one of the groups that I don't think that we connect with enough are individuals starting new upstart CPG brands, the next generation of CPG brands. And so, I think that we can do a better job of reaching out to them, and that we could do a better job of letting them know that we're here and that we're interested in them. Because I think that the next generation of food and beverage products may or may not come from the multinationals. There is legitimate competition. There's great ideas being developed, and we would love to connect with the entrepreneurs that are starting their journey. And if we can help them get their product into a great shape before they launch, before they first go to market, I think I think it helps us create a better tasting world for everyone.
So, Jason, an amazing story, amazing tenacity, amazing technology. I'm grateful for you to have shared your story with my audience, and I do wish you amazing success and be well.
Thank you.